Everyone knows the name of Wedgwood when it comes to pottery, and this is what they have in mind, this blue and white design that's famous throughout the world. But few people know that it was here in Burslem, on the outskirts of Stoke-on-Trent, that Josiah Wedgwood's climb to fame and fortune first began. This is actually the site of his first factory, which was at the heart of the pottery industry when it took off in the 18th century. But does any of it remain under the paving stones of present-day Burslem? Over the next few days, Time Team have got the fantastic opportunity to dig up this area and find out. Burslem is one of 6 towns which make up modern-day Stoke-on-Trent. Later this year, a new exhibition centre is going to be built here to celebrate its heritage as one of the early centres of pottery making. But first, before building can begin, archaeologists want to make sure that it's not going to destroy any important remains still surviving on this site.
Hey, Tone, come and look at this.
What's this then?
This is Wedgwood's first factory at the Ivy House, and we're actually sort of trying to line up where it is. That's right, Nick Bill?
That's right.
Just over here somewhere?
Yeah.
Just on the corner over there, perhaps just behind where the traffic lights are. We don't know absolutely for sure. It's difficult to put all the maps together, but we know it's definitely in that area presently.
With the big house, this big house here on the right there.
So that building would have been off just there somewhere?
That's right. Now, we know that building was built in 1751. It was owned by John and Thomas Wedgwood, who were Josiah's cousins. Now, when Josiah was 29 in 1759, he wanted to go into business on his own. John and Thomas were ready to retire. They rented him this factory, and he went into business here on his own, and this is the site of it over there.
If we know where it was and what it looked like, and we've even got houses of the period still up,
That's right. Yeah.
Why are we bothering to do this excavation?
Well, I think, there's nothing left there now where the Ivy House was, but I think this is to do with Josiah Wedgwood. He was a great man of the 18th century. It was a great time of change in the pottery industry. He himself mastered many developments in pottery, which we now take for granted. He was a great chemist and he was a great leader of his time. If we could find some evidence of what he was really doing at this site, it would be great.
What do you mean, what was he doing? We know he was throwing pots.
Well, we don't know what pots. We don't know exactly what he was making here. We could find all sorts of things.
The problem is, Tony, if you turn that over, this is what was there in the 19th century, this huge meat market.
And none of that's left?
None of that's left, and we don't really know what that's done in terms of its foundations to the earlier archaeology underneath. I mean, it might have completely wiped it out, mightn't it?
Well, I should think it probably did. I mean, could anything have survived the building of this huge Victorian meat market? The only way to find out is to dig. And before we can do that, we need to work out exactly where Josiah Wedgwood's first factory actually stood. How are you getting on?
What I'm trying to do is identify the site of Wedgwood's first pottery here, the Ivy House works. Now we're lucky, we've got a plan of 1835, which was probably put together around about the time the meat market was being built. We can see on here the meat market against the background of the pottery. And then we've got a map of 1878, which shows the market hall, which we can overlay over that. And on that one, we've actually got the position of the town hall and big house, so we can start to fit them together.
That's very good, isn't it?
And and if we translate all that onto the modern map, so we can see it all on the modern base, we can actually start to work out where they lay out the fact that the pottery was. It's a bit complicated, that, so I've simplified it onto this. You can see the area of the yellow is the meat market, the red is the Wedgwood's first factory, and the thick black lines are the modern detail. That's the town hall, that's big house across the road.
So we're effectively standing on the corner there then?
That's it, this flower bed here, and there's another flower bed behind us, which you can see there, that red building we think is the Ivy House cottage.
This is here?
That's right, yeah, it's just in this strip down here, Tony. The Ivy House cottage, if it still survives, would be coming across this corner here. We've just got about 4 or 5 metres of it. Yeah. If it survives below here.
So one trench along
Straight
here.
down there, yeah.
Build bigger
Yeah,
one.
I think so. We also really ought to have a look for this kiln, shouldn't we, really?
Yeah.
That's over where the circular bandstand behind.
I think it'd be nice to take that bandstand away. I think that looks horrible.
Yeah.
Get rid of that.
It's a fairly big target. It's like 8 to 12 metres across. We could get a trench right the way. If it still survives, then we should hit it.
Yeah.
So trench 1 will be opened up here, and trench 2 will go in behind the bandstand. But I must admit my worry is that we're not going to find anything but Victorian rubble, though one of our pottery experts is more optimistic.
We should find something here. There's been pottery making on this site since the late 17th century and right the way through the 18th century. So you've got to find something, hopefully Wedgwood.
Now, I know this is Wedgwood, but what are the dates of these?
That particular piece was made about 1790, 1795.
It looks completely modern, doesn't it? And what about these?
Those were a little bit earlier, between about 1770 to about 1780.
So this is what he was making towards the end of his life, but the period that we're interested in over the next 2 or 3 days is when he was at the Ivy House Works, and there's nothing there.
Yes, that's because ideally we'd like to be able to move some of these pieces and some of those pieces into the gap. We know that he was capable of making this when he came here.
Right.
We know that by the time he left, he was making that.
So this is what he made earlier, this bizarre...
Don't pick it up by the handle, please.
What?
Because it's 250 years old and we're not sure if the handle's going to stay there any longer.
So I spent my whole life learning to pick things up by the handle. So this is the earlier stuff. This is, would you call this rococo?
Yes, it's in the form of a pineapple. And that was one of the things about the rococo, that it was all natural and animal forms. So you've got pineapples, you've got cauliflowers and shells, all sorts of strange, peculiar forms that were very fashionable at that time.
And this is what he was making later?
That's right, moving more towards the neoclassical, simpler forms, more elegant, more refined.
So if we find some of this, we'll know that he was still making this when he was at Ivy House. Whereas if there's none of that, but just this, we'll know he changed over straight away.
Yes, I mean, hopefully you'll be finding some of both.
Josiah Wedgwood was only based at the Ivy House Works for 3 years, between 1759 and 1763. So finding the right bits of pottery on a factory site that was in use before and after his time sounds like a bit of a long shot to me. But as with any town centre site, before we can get that far, we have to watch out for the things we don't want to dig up, such as power cables and gas mains.
Yeah, picking up lots of stuff here.
What, right the way down?
Yeah, right to there, it stops there.
Meanwhile, inside the town hall, Robin's in his element because he's got his hands on original documents written by Josiah Wedgwood himself.
I understand that there are 75,000 documents relating to the 18th century period of the manufacture. So
That he wrote?
Well, a lot of them he wrote, thousands and thousands of pieces, documents, which throw an incredible light on the activity of a man who was foremost in the field of earthenware and pottery in Europe, if not in the world.
Josiah kept records of his experiments, and we do know that while he was at the Ivy House Works, he was trying to perfect the glaze he would need to produce whiteware pottery. What was so significant about this whiteware of his? It looks to me just like the stuff you get in Woolworths.
Oh, how could you? It was very important because basically there were 2 types of ceramics in England. The everyday pottery or the imported oriental porcelains. And the porcelains made in the Far East and in England by Chelsea and Bow were incredibly expensive. And Wedgwood, by making cream-coloured earthenware, which was suitable for the tables, made it accessible to the rising middle classes because of the Industrial Revolution and also the aristocracy. Once the Queen had chosen to use a tea and coffee service made by Wedgwood, then everybody followed suit.
Out in Trench 1, it hasn't taken long to come down onto some archaeology, and it looks quite impressive.
Hi, Phil. Looks a bit different. What have you got here?
Well, I mean, we've got some good archaeology, but I think it must be got to be the meat market.
Yeah, it's worth looking at those angles, Phil. They fit in exactly with the alignment and corners
Now,
of the
hang on a
meat
minute,
market.
Stuart. Where exactly is our trench then?
Your trench is going right in this corner.
So this edge down here then, this edge down here,
yeah,
that's this wall here?
That's bang on, Phil, yeah.
That's that wall there?
That's the edge of the meat market.
Yeah. And this presumably is the threshold coming in.
Yeah.
And there's presumably an entrance way here through there somewhere.
There's not actually an entrance shown on the map, but
but it must be an edge, because look, you've got these tiles going the opposite way, so presumably there's a doorway in here, and you walk through then into the inside of the building.
All these alignments are bang on for what you're seeing here being part of the meat market.
And the ivy house, as we wanted it, which was where that drain is coming out, been pretty badly cut away by that concrete.
So no remains of the Ivy House cottage, where Josiah Wedgwood lived in the early 1760s. The next job here in Trench 1 is to record this layer of archaeology and then find out what's underneath it, because a map exists showing this site as a pottery works 40 years earlier in 1720, and at that time the area was surrounded by countryside.
It's very interesting because in this area where we are digging at the present time, you can see that there are a number of bottle ovens. Yeah.
But they're all over the place, aren't they, these ovens? They're absolutely everywhere, and everyone's sort of back garden. Presumably these ones in the back gardens, they would have looked sort of like this, with the farm cottage and then the bottle oven just sort of built on the back, really.
Well, that's a good picture of a typical farm and bottle oven around about 1650. And of course, it was all down to the poor quality of the soil at the time. So agriculture wasn't really feasible, so they supplemented their income by turning to making pots. There was coal outcropped on the site, and
that would have made the soil poor, but would have enabled them to fire the kilns.
Straight away, yes.
But I mean, this is 1720, so presumably in our excavations we might hope to find not only pottery from Josiah Wedgwood's occupation of Burslem, but also from pottery making going back 100 years, perhaps even more before his time.
Outside in the rain, progress is slow. Although we found archaeology in Trench 1, so far we've got nothing in Trench 2.
So, I mean, we're slap banging, we're at the middle of where the kiln should be.
The kiln should be
it looks like it's gone then.
Well, certainly that's from here, yeah.
See, the natural goes right up to the surface, doesn't it?
Well, if we look, hang on, there's a load of brick in here, bits of pottery, so this could well be it.
What, the kiln?
Yeah.
You reckon it
if
could?
all we've got is just like the very base left.
Phil?
Yeah?
What you got for us?
It looks like we might have the kiln, Tony.
Really
good.
How do you know that's a kiln?
Well, look, we don't know for sure, but look, you see that brick there, the vitrified brick? That's incredibly fired, incredibly high. And then above it, as Noel's pointed out, we got saggers, which are the pots that they used to fire the other pots inside. And look, and then we've actually got the piece of pot. What do you reckon of that again?
Well, it's biscuitware, which means it's just been fired once, hasn't been glazed, and it could be creamware.
Has it got Wedgwood on?
It's the right period, but it could be a bit early, could be a bit later.
But effectively, this could be Wedgwood's kiln then.
Could be the one, yeah.
So are you going to cut the trench further back?
We got to. Basically, the bit that we're in has been totally chopped away by the steps, and it's been totally landscaped away. Yeah. I mean, we should go back, probably take out another couple of slabs of the paving area. Yeah.
I'm not so sure there's a kiln in my own mind. I mean, well, you get a lot of the archaeology around here. You get a lot of debris filling holes, saggers, 10 a penny. Every hole you dig in Stoke full of saggers, vitrified bricks. I'd like to see more of it in plan.
You will see more of it. You will see more of it. We're going to dig it up.
Well, we may not have found the remnants of the Ivy House factory. Maybe it is lost under the meat market, but it could well be that that is the remains of that kiln. At one time, the skyline around Burslem would have looked like this. There were close to 2,000 pottery kilns in the area. Now only 47 remain, 7 of which are preserved at the Gladstone Factory Museum. Although these kilns date to the Victorian period, they're almost identical to those that would have stood at the Ivy House works.
It's terribly evocative seeing it all laid out here, isn't it, Angela? And presumably you'd have had masses of people shoveling coal in constantly to get it to fire.
Yes, coal would have been used throughout the firing process.
Oh, I see. So this is the actual kiln, and the bottle-shaped thing we can see is just a sort of cover around the outside of it.
Yes, it's called the hovel. It's to protect the kiln from the weather and the wind. The coal goes into fire mouths like these. There are 8 around this oven, but probably you'd find 5 or 6 at a smaller kiln.
Like our Wedgwood site. I mean, I'm quite interested in what's actually at ground level, because of course we're not going to find it surviving up, built up high like that. What we're going to find is the remains of the foundations, as it were.
Yes, there'll be the circle of the kiln and ash pits rather than fire mouths at ground level.
Are these some of these saggers that they put things in to protect them in the kiln?
Yes, they're fire clay containers to protect the pottery from the intense heat and smoke.
So this is all the saggers stacked up in here. It's quite claustrophobic actually in here, isn't it? Presumably it would have been incredibly hot in here. How long did it take to fire them?
These kilns took about a day to fill, a day and a half to heat up, a day and a half to cool down, day to empty, so 5 or 6 days for one firing.
So it's almost a week for each firing.
But have we found a kiln at our site? Well, Bill's not seen enough to be sure as yet, but what we do have are bits of pottery and something that looks like a factory yard surface.
Now this pottery, from the layer above, dates from the late 17th century, perhaps in the earlier 18th century, and they also had other pottery of the same date.
So does that mean that this floor yard is likely to have been from Wedgwood's first factory?
That's right. I think, well, what it shows us, I think, is that this yard surface is certainly earlier than the meat market. Meat market was built in 1835, so this pushes this yard surface back probably into the 18th century, supported by the artefacts, the bits of pottery that were lying on this surface above it. So this could very well be part of the Ivy House factory itself.
And if it survives here, then it could survive elsewhere. Geophysics are currently doing a radar survey in the car park at the back of this site, and we'll get their results tomorrow. Stuart believes there's an even better chance of the Ivy House works surviving here because it was outside the area of the Victorian meat market. But that's about it for today, except for a chance to see Victor's impression of how the Ivy House works must have looked on this site. Let's hope we can find more of it tomorrow. Beginning of day 2, and a lot of our hopes are pinned on Trench 2. There's a lot of archaeology here, which some of us are hoping is associated with the kiln. There's certainly a great swirling 18th century floor here, which is why we're pulling this trench back and back. Over here, this is Trench 1. That's the one with the beautiful red tiled 19th century meat market floor in it. And whatever's under that floor has been nicely sealed in. So we've recorded the floor, now we're taking it up to see what's underneath. And this is Trench 3, which we didn't have time to do anything on yesterday, so we're starting now. As you can see and hear, it's all happening, just crossing our fingers that the rain doesn't start again. It seems a shame to have to break up these Victorian floors, but now that they've been recorded, we need to know what's beneath them. Our new trench, Trench 3, is positioned outside the area where the meat market stood, and we're hoping that we might find the remains of workshops which were part of the Ivy House pottery works. But these trenches are only in one half of the site. We still have the car park area to investigate. John?
Hi, Tony.
Is that the geophys results?
Yes, we're getting some nice responses, Tony. This is just one of the traces. We've done a line along here, and there's a bit of noise, a bit of sort of interference, and then this abrupt change at this point here, and everything to the right, that suggests it's the meat market, where it's actually cut into the deposits, and so removed all the earlier evidence. So what we want to do is put a trench along here that takes in the edge of the meat market to confirm that it is indeed that, and then to look at this area of disturbance.
Stuart's already marked out a trench based on the map evidence, and John will now extend it to include the edge of the meat market. This will be trench number 4. In Trench 2, we're opening up an even wider area in search of the kiln base, and ideally some Wedgwood pottery to go with it. While in Trench 1, our decision to break up the Victorian floors seems to have paid off already.
Hello, Jenny.
Hello.
How's it going?
Not too bad. We've found a big stash of this brown.
This is interesting stuff. Where is it from? Just down
It's
there?
just from in there. I think we've got a sort of pit cut into the natural.
Right. Well, this is 17th century or early 18th century stuff. This is pre-Ivy House.
Right.
So have a look. Is it all the same date?
Yeah.
I think it is. You know, mottled ware. There's stacks of it. Oh, slipware. This is a good late 17th century, early 18th century deposit here. Shows people were potting here before Josiah Wedgwood got here. This is great.
Well, we're not even halfway through day 2, and we've got an amazing number of finds.
Exactly, yeah.
How do they compare with what you found in the past?
Well, some surprises. We've a collection of pots here from the museum's collection, which we brought along to give the diggers some idea of what they might be expecting to find.
Yeah.
This is probably one of the earliest pieces we have from the site yet. It's a medieval cooking pot rim shard, just like that one there, Mike.
Like that, yeah.
You see that?
Fantastic.
Very, very similar.
Yeah.
Probably 14th century.
Yeah.
This one here, late 17th century tankard. Good match there from,
very good.
Trench 1.
Yeah.
Isn't that good?
Yeah.
And this brute here is what is
what's that then,
known
David?
as a butter pot. A product for which Burslem was very well known in the 17th century, and a good matching shard there for that type of ware.
Is that to put cold butter in?
It's for storing and transporting butter from the North Staffordshire dairy farms.
All right, this is up to the beginning of the 18th century, but this down here presumably is more the time when Josiah Wedgwood would have been around. How much of this kind of pottery have we got?
As yet, nothing. This is exactly what we're looking for. This is the pottery that Wedgwood would have been familiar with, that he was probably making.
This is sweet, isn't it? Is it a child's teapot?
No, I think not. In the early 18th century, tea was very expensive, and as a result, teapots tend to be made often very, very small indeed, so that was for use.
And the teacups to go with it, by the look of it.
That's right.
Right, so we've got to be looking for a lot of teapots like this, Mick.
Right, back out into the rain.
Well, thankfully, it isn't actually raining, and we're making good progress in Trench 2. But at the moment, Phil has been called across to Trench 3.
Hey,
look at that!
Oh, look at that! Hang on, whoa! Cut the engine. Look at this stuff down here. Amazing.
It's pretty good, isn't it? Just a small dump of pottery.
What are we going to do with it then?
It's nice to have the occasional find on time, Tim, isn't it?
Have you got a skip?
Is that all 19th century?
Well, looking by the stuff that's just come out, it does look to be, yeah. David?
Yeah,
It's
a painter's mark.
So, well, you've got the printed side on that side there, look,
Oh,
the lady.
that's really
Isn't that
pretty.
sweet? Yeah.
That's so pretty. Look at this.
It's gorgeous.
Well, that's a printed pattern. Early 19th century, 1810s, 1820s. I think looking at the shard I've got in my hand here, we can attribute that exactly to a manufacturer, none other than Enoch Wood and Sons, who were operating here in Burslem in the early part of the 19th century, most of the early part of the 19th century.
Now, be honest with us. Is this rubbish, or does it actually tell you anything?
Oh, I'm absolutely fascinated by this. Enoch Wood is a very important character, and he was one of the first antiquarian archaeologists operating in the Six Towns. He went around Burslem town centre popping little time capsules of Wood and Sons factory-made wares into the ground, and I think this is what we've got here.
So what do we do with all this stuff now? Do we have to record it and...
I think we can probably whip it out fairly quickly, maybe spade it out.
But how much of this stuff do you really want? I mean, do you honestly expect that the museum is going to take boxfuls and boxfuls of broken pottery?
I know it will.
I know it will. Haven't they got enough already?
Don't argue with them.
No,
dig it up and put it in a
we'll
skip.
dig it up. You want it, we'll dig it up.
Well, we wanted to find lots of pottery, and we've certainly found some. It all dates to the 1830s. And without losing too much time, the job now is to work through it and pick out a representative selection for the museum.
Hey, look at that, the spout. Oh, what an awesome thing that is, isn't it, eh? Yeah, why not? I don't know what it is. Is it a bird?
Finding so much pottery is certainly a spectacle for the local people watching. And today, they also had the chance to talk to two members of the histrionics group, who we've invited along to remind everyone of just how different life was when Wedgwood was based here in the early 1760s.
This is exactly the sort of costume people would have worn at the time of Wedgwood. And this is sort of upper middle class. I'm more likely to be one of his customers than one of his workers.
To get an idea of what was involved in the factory production process during Josiah Wedgwood's time, Carenza has gone back to the Gladstone Museum, where we want to attempt to make a replica of a Wedgwood creamware vase.
So you're ready to go with that now, Ken?
Yes, we can give it a try.
Right, we've got a Wedgwood period wheel over here, which we'd quite like you to use.
The first of many craftsmen who'll be involved is Ken Badley, a modern-day Wedgwood potter.
It'll be just the outline shape. It won't have the handles.
Oh, right, so it's just the body and you put the lid on later and all that sort of thing.
OK, this is the power end of the wheel, if Carenza would
right.
like to come and stand here. Right, this would have been a child or a woman's job.
Oh, right, so this is... I should be doing this.
So your job is to turn that round.
Oh, right, and that turns the wheel.
And that turns the wheel at that end. It's geared as well, so we can always change the speed.
Does Ken change the speed? Or?
No, you need to think for Ken. So he'll put the clay on the wheel. And now you want plenty of speed for the centering.
I might need to think for you, but I don't know. I'm amazed you can do anything. I'm sure I'm not doing this constantly. Every time Ken takes his hands off, it suddenly goes a lot more freer, and every time he puts his hands on it, it has a lot more resistance. I can imagine the amount of cursing and swearing that must have gone on when you've got someone new on this end of the wheel.
Oh, yes.
It's really, you can wreck it from this end, can't you, just by going at the wrong speed?
You certainly can. They used to have to work as a very, very close team. They were very often paid by piecework. So the more pieces they made, the more money they made. So if you'd got somebody very inefficient at this end, then that would affect the earnings of everybody.
You may have turned the wheel in former life.
You think so? I'm doing a reasonable job, am I?
Throwing the vase on the wheel is just the first stage in the production line process. Tomorrow, once it's had time to dry, it'll be shaped on a lathe, and Victor will have a go at painting a design on it.
Right, I'll remove the pot. The potter wouldn't have taken the pot off. They would have had a small child to do that for them.
Right, so what do we do now?
The lid.
In Ken's opinion, an experienced potter like himself should have been able to throw about 120 vases in a day. And thanks to an original document in the Wedgwood archive, we know how much each one would have cost.
Well, probably the best example is this one, which is a pebble one without a medallion, very simple.
9 inches high.
9 inches high, roughly the same height. And you've got the various ingredients, biscuit firing, which would have been a penny, gloss firing, which is twopence. The total amount for this is 4 shillings, 10 pence and 3 farthings.
Gosh, that's quite a lot of money.
It's quite a lot of money. It probably would have then sold for a guinea.
In Trench 3, Phil's still up to his neck in 19th century pottery.
Stone of crows.
Certainly we've found more than our volunteer pot washers expected. But our best hope of finding some Wedgwood pottery has still got to be Trench 2, which is looking better and better.
I think what we've got here, Mick, is part of a kiln structure.
Wow, that's fantastic, isn't it?
Can you see the way it curves?
Yeah,
like
that's brilliant.
Let me show you on a drawing.
It's
look.
amazing that bit's left, isn't it? Everything else is dug away.
That's right. What we've got is this part of this circle, which is the outer part of the kiln structure, which is called the hovel. Now, if we look at that, how that would have looked sort of actually stood up, that's like in plan looking down from above. So if you look at it from the side, it would be a sort of a bit like this.
It's a bottle shaped.
A bottle shape.
So is this the brick inside it here?
That's right.
With buttresses or something on it?
I think they're probably buttresses, but what we haven't got is what would have been inside this, which would have been the oven. Another circular structure.
Right.
And there would have been a passageway inside for the men to work. There would have been fire mouths regularly spaced around the actual oven. Men would have worked inside this gap in between the oven and the hovel. And what I think we've got here is part of this kiln and oven structure coming across like that. And I think we might just have clipped the oven wall up here, and there's some quite interesting stuff in the section up.
Well, we ought to go and look at that. We've got a section there.
Let's go, yeah.
What is it that you want to show us?
Well, around here, Tony, I think there's some evidence that there could be earlier kilns. Now, we think, as we were saying, this is part of the factory that was here in 1835, a later version of the Ivy House. But beneath it, you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4 layers of bricks. I'm not sure if it's to do with this flue entirely or not, but they could be the floor surfaces of earlier kilns.
So, that layer of 3 bricks there could be Wedgwood's own kiln?
Well, it's possible, it's possible.
So how are we going to establish that?
Well, what I think we need to do is to actually have a look somehow at these earlier deposits. How are we going to do that without destroying this quite interesting stuff on top?
There. Might do it.
We could do, yeah. We need to have a chat about that and decide how best to progress this.
Okay.
Time for a late lunch and a lesson in etiquette, but also the chance to see a genuine Wedgwood creamware plate, so we can recognise one when we dig it up.
18th century forks are quite a new thing. You've still got the knife with this bulge at the end, which is for picking up peas. And that's just about allowable, going out of fashion.
What would Wedgwood's workers have eaten off?
They'd probably have eaten off pewter, whereas Wedgwood himself would have ensured the latest creamware was shown to his guests. He was very shrewd at marketing his products, and he would always make sure that this was shown off to everybody, so that he got the maximum possible sales and publicity.
The sun's shining, we're pulling in the crowds, and every one of our trenches is stuffed with archaeology. How often can we say that on time, team? What you got?
Well, it's an ale measure, and it looks as though we've got nearly all of it. I'm just trying to piece it together. We've certainly got these bits that fit together.
What's that bit there, then, Alison?
Well, that's a seal, and apparently that sort of authenticates the measure to tell you whether you're getting a full pint.
Oh, right.
It's the sort of thing you would have had in an inn. It has a crown on it in the middle, and below it, it should have the initials of the monarch, but we can't read them.
What sort of period? Any idea?
Well, we think it's late 17th, early 18th century.
What else have you found in the trench?
Lots of interesting pottery, all the same date and part of a kiln.
A kiln?
Can we get down there?
Jen, can we come and have a look? Only a very small bit of the kiln remains, but in a construction trench next to it, there are lots more fragments of early 18th century tankards. These tankards and the measuring jug are finished items, and could have come from the Bluebell pub, which we know was outside the town hall in the early 1700s. And it's the deed to this pub which has got Robin excited, because it gives us information about an even earlier period of pottery making.
Indeed. But I think this is wonderful because, and so here we have, in 1635, John Daniel of the Waste, the elder of Burslem in the county of Stafford, potter. And we know that he was living on this site because he describes himself as of the Waste. So here we have pottery being produced on this site, over 360 years ago, which is absolutely wonderful.
In Trench 3, we've now dug out most of the 1830s pottery and have come down onto a new layer of archaeology relating to the 1700s. There's talk that we could have found another kiln here, but it's early days yet, and really the story of this trench today has been the sheer quantity of pottery we've had to deal with.
Miranda, there must be a ton of this stuff coming out of our dig now. You're not going to wash all of it, are you?
Well, there's been a fairly thorough sample taken. That's going to be washed, it'll be bagged, marked up, it'll go down to the museum, and yes, it's going to stay with us. Not everything from the site, but a fair bit.
Why? Why are you so excited about this?
Well, some of the pieces have got marks on. That's a fragmentary one. It's Enoch Wood & Sons. We know which factory it was. We know when it was deposited. We've got marked pieces, but we've got unmarked pieces as well. This type of ware, industrial slipware, was never marked. Now, we know that they're Enoch Wood because they're found in the same context, so therefore we can start to match these pieces with complete pieces in museums and start to say, yes, those pieces are Enoch Wood. We're actually starting to take pieces that are anonymous and attribute them to factories.
All over the world, presumably?
All over the world. This is very much collected in America.
So you're saying that before our dig, you didn't know who made this sort of pottery?
We know that it was made by a lot of different factories, but trying to attribute any particular wares to a particular factory beforehand was almost impossible. This is pretty well unique.
I must admit, I do like this chamber pot you're putting back together again here.
Yeah.
Can I pick this up? Yeah. You seen that, Tony?
That'd be a bit dangerous to use, wouldn't it?
Just a little bit, yes.
What we really want is Wedgwood, isn't it? Do you think we can find any here?
Well, it's going to be down here somewhere. You've just got to dig in the right place. Well, we're doing our best.
Keep looking. In the car park, the tarmac's taken a lot of getting through, but eventually Trench 4 has come down onto a floor surface which could be part of the Ivy House works. Geophiz have now completed their radar survey and are suggesting we open up another trench.
But what this shows is that this area here that I've highlighted in pink suggests that there's wall foundations, possibly floors, rubble surviving in this area, and that also ties in with the map evidence.
Here, yeah. Right.
So Trench 5 gets underway, but we'll have to wait for tomorrow to see if that does as well as the others. All day we've been looking for pottery and we found some. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen so many broken pots in the whole of my life. Trouble is, none of it's Wedgwood. Although the diggers do tell me that it's very rare to find broken Wedgwood around here. And all day we've been looking for kilns, and we found 3, although none of them are Wedgwood either. This one's a beauty, but it's 19th century. So tomorrow we're going to dig down below it onto what's hopefully an earlier kiln. And then maybe, just maybe, we'll find the missing piece of the jigsaw, a piece of Josiah Wedgwood pottery. Beginning of day 3, we've got this beautiful 19th century kiln, and we're trying to excavate below it to see if there's an earlier kiln underneath. Mick, you reckon this is pretty good, don't you?
I think this is fantastic. I think it's one of the best preserved, most relevant and obvious bits of archaeology we've ever found. And I just hope they can conserve it as part of the development, you know.
Yeah, but we still haven't found any evidence of Wedgwood underneath, have we?
No, no.
Phil, how long will it be before you start digging?
Pretty imminent, actually, Tony. We've got the drawing done, last few photographs and a bit of other description, and then we're ready to go.
And then how long will it take?
Oh, I mean, I don't think it should be a long job. All we've got to do is get the evidence.
Well, this is the trench I want to keep my eye on today, because it would really finish off what's been a marvellous dig if we could find some archaeology connected with Josiah Wedgwood himself.
Hey, Tony, we've got some Wedgwood at last. Look at that.
What is this? Last pot to be made on this site by E. Wedgwood.
Just Look, it's dated, a dated piece too.
Where'd you get that?
It was here when I got here this morning, but it wasn't here last night.
Get back in there, you fraud. Don't come out till you found the real stuff. Clearly someone in a local factory has been busy, just as we will be today at Wedgwood's present-day factory, where we plan to finish off our replica creamware vase.
This doesn't look nearly as modern as the rest of the factory. Is this the sort of lathe that Wedgwood would have used?
This is exactly the sort of lathe that Wedgwood would have had. He introduced this into the ceramic industry in 1763.
Oh, that's exactly our period for the factory up at Burslem.
Absolutely perfect.
As with the rope wheel yesterday, it was a woman's job to provide the power.
I feel it doing my hips good already.
Yeah. Introducing a lathe to the pottery business meant that Wedgwood could produce more precisely and elaborately shaped ceramics. The design of this lathe hasn't been bettered to this day, and Wedgwood still use it for prestige ware requiring specialised decoration.
Is there a little sort of non-critical bit I could have a go at? I'm sure it wasn't making this weeveling noise when you were doing it.
It's because you probably haven't got the tool quite firm in your hand.
Right, okay, I'm just a bit firm.
Put your left hand actually on the tool, that's it.
Right. Oh dear. You can smooth that off,
can't we? Not as easy as it seems, is it?
Once it's been shaped, the vase is burnished.
It actually closes the pores of the actual piece.
That's amazing. I can see the shine
That's
of
right.
the light reflecting off it, sort of moving up.
That's right.
That's incredible.
Put a bit of water onto the actual
The footing for the vase is also stuck on at this stage in the process.
It's a lot of stuff.
Phil to Tony.
Is that for me, Phil?
Tony, I think it'll pay you to get over it. We think we've got what you want.
David, can you come over to this trench?
Yeah.
What you got for us?
Knew we wouldn't let you down.
Oh, what's this?
Have a look at that. What do you think of that then, David?
Is this creamware?
That's creamware.
Now, what can you tell us about that?
I can tell you that that's the biz, that's the right period, that's 1760s, it's a plate, 10-inch plate. If it's not Wedgwood, that was made by whoever followed him immediately. That's the period.
So how can we establish whether anything that we might pull up is Wedgwood rather than the people who came after him?
We can hope for a mark, but that really is a long shot.
Where did you find it?
It's just in this material, this build-up. You see, here's the bricks. This is what we think is the floor, and we've got this build-up.
There's another piece coming out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You didn't just break that and put it in, did you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's loads of it too, look. That's only one bag full.
Did they mark the bottom?
We don't know that they marked it at this period.
Yeah.
Certainly during the later 60s, Wedgwood was marking his pottery on a more regular basis. But it would be nice to see this alongside other material of the same period. That would help us to determine more closely the date of production.
Excellent.
Well, really what we want to do then is get the rest of this layer out, and if we can get these finds processed,
absolutely,
you can have a look at them without
Indeed.
the dirt on them. Hey, look! Hey! It fits!
Can you find a bit more?
More! Come on!
What's significant is that we've found a layer that contains only pottery from the Wedgwood period or earlier. This tells us that the kiln remains above this layer aren't any later than 1780, and it should also help us to fix a date for the floor or earlier kiln beneath it. So, the archaeology is going well. It's just a shame about the weather. But even the rain isn't going to stop us now. Well, maybe just for a bit. Meanwhile, in the nice, dry, modern Wedgwood factory, we've moved down the production line to yet another specialist.
This is a dot box. It's an extruder.
All right, it comes out the bottom here. Shall I catch it for you?
Yeah. Place it on the butt.
Right. Oh, and it's all shaped by this sort of extrusion machine.
It's got a design in it. Making the handles, that's a former, by the way.
All right.
Bend it all the way around. One handle. Okay.
Once the handles have hardened, they can be stuck on.
Plenty of slip.
Right, so this is effectively acting as glue.
That's right. Pick the pot up. Place it on.
And before long, we've got our complete pot, which is now ready to go in the kiln. This is the first of 2 firings it undergoes before emerging as a recognisable creamware vase. We obviously haven't got time to do that, so from now on, we'll be working on another pot which has been prepared for us in advance. And it's at this stage that our artist, Victor Ambrose, has the hardest challenge of all, because he only has today to master the skill of hand-painting pottery.
Look at this, Phil. This is really interesting.
Saw that. What is it?
Well, Neil's just washed this and looked at it, and he's told us something really exciting about this.
What they seem to be doing was making these teapots based on the house that they lived in.
Is this Wedgwood?
Well, John and Thomas Wedgwood,
Yeah.
Josiah Wedgwood's uncles, owned that house. They were
Yeah.
potters. They probably made this, but it puts this certainly into the 1750s. Perhaps Josiah Wedgwood made it. Perhaps, who knows? This is definitely of our period.
That's fantastic, isn't it? Look, that's a fit, isn't it? That's perfect.
It's incredible.
Miranda has brought an identical teapot from the museum, which confirms our fragment dates to the late 1750s.
So, I mean, is this a functional teapot, or is it something that you stand on the sideboard and admire?
It's very much a functional teapot, but it's the sort of thing, of course, it would have been an item of conversation when you came to tea. What an unusual teapot.
It certainly would be conversation, yeah.
Hi, how's it
Hello,
going?
Bill. Well, things are hotting up here at the moment, Bill. I mean, this is starting to look quite interesting.
Oh, yeah. Nice
Mick,
wall. Yeah.
Can you sort of explain to Bill what's going on?
What I've basically got, I've got the foundations for a wall running through here,
right.
and I've got evidence for sort of road out here, hard compact surfaces.
Right.
I've actually got a gas main out there as well.
Right.
And I seem to have sort of flooring material going back that way.
That's tying together really well with the original survey. You know, the 1835 survey of the potworks, which is where we're starting from.
That's great.
We've measured that in on the master survey. We're right in this series of buildings along here, and this
yep.
is perfect for the edge of that building.
Right, so this straight wall is in fact the outside wall. So we originally thought it might be curving away from us, so we opened up that area to see if we had another kiln, going kiln crazy on it. At last, got a straight wall. So, but what that
well, this is good news. We found the back wall of the Ivy House works. In the Special Skills Unit at Wedgwood, Victor's coping well with the problems of working on a slippery, curved surface.
Now it's gone around, we've got to be careful I don't smudge any of it. And it's getting heavy.
Just as Josiah Wedgwood used popular events of his day, we want to make our 1760s vase a commemoration of Time Team's visit to Burslem.
I mean, the detail's absolutely incredible, using each grape and all the veins.
Carenza's looking through the original Wedgwood pattern books to choose a design for the border.
Oh no, these would be all hand-painted, and depending on the complexity of the border, they would be paid a different rate. And it's interesting because quite a few women, as well as men, were actually painting the borders on plates.
Really?
And some of them were earning anything up to 18 shillings a week, which would be quite a lot of money.
Quite a lot in those days, isn't it?
Much as I'd love to ask Victor to do one of these ivy leaves or the grapes or these strawberries, I think with the constraints of time probably we ought to go something a bit simpler like that. Is that about right for our period?
Yes, that was about 1765, which is perfectly in keeping with the pot you're making.
So we've done it. We've got the final piece in the jigsaw.
Yes, it certainly looks like it. We've a good quantity of material now, which could very well have been made by Wedgwood, certainly dating to the 1760s.
The thing that strikes me about it is that it's mostly that creamware.
Yeah, which was becoming fashionable during the 1760s, but we do have a little bit here of the...
Is this Rococo?
The more Rococo. That's a teapot made in the form of a melon with rouletted decoration, and it would have been coloured with green and yellow glazes.
Even if we didn't find a piece with Wedgwood's name on it, these are all ceramics which could have been in production at the Ivy House works during the period Josiah Wedgwood was based there, between 1759 and 1763. It's been a hugely enjoyable 3 days, and more productive than we could have imagined. Our evaluation work has proved that bits of the Ivy House pottery works do survive. Trench 3, in the end, found the remains of workshops, as did Trench 4, and Trench 5 uncovered the back wall. But as is typical of Time Team, it's never over until the last spade has gone into the ground. Mick, what are you doing digging a big hole? You're supposed to be filling this in. Blimey, got some fun.
Look at that lot. Wow, this is amazing.
This is only 5% of it.
You're kidding?
No, it's 5%. That's all that's there. The rest of it's on the spoil heap over there.
Oh.
What is it, Bill?
Just first look. I mean, it's all once fired stuff. This is old. This is unlike. We've had 1 or 2 shards of this stuff coming up elsewhere, but only as background. But this is amazing. We're into a very early deposit. This hard-fired stuff. Midlands purple, 15th century, 16th century.
On closer inspection, what's been discovered in Trench 5 is evidence of a 16th century kiln. And these are incredibly important finds because they suggest that pottery making here in Burslem in the late 1500s was on a much bigger scale than had been previously thought.
Hi Victor, how are you getting on? Have you finished it yet?
Last touches.
Look at that.
Just the last touches.
Oh, that is fantastic. You've got this done since this morning.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Isn't it beautiful? With the Time Team logo on the back. I mean, it's amazed me how many people it's taken to produce just this one vessel.
Yes.
Once the vase has had its final firing, it'll go on display at Ceramica, the new exhibition centre to be built on our site.
This is where your base is. This is where my building is, so I think we might have a problem.
Oh, right, so yeah. Well,
But the layout of the new building will be amended to feature some of the archaeology discovered over the last 3 days. Finally, just enough time to let the people of Burslem see what we've found. Well, it's been pretty hectic today, hasn't it? And unfortunately, time's run out on us. But the good news from Trench 2 is that underneath this 19th century kiln, we've got this tiny little bit of original factory floor which Josiah Wedgwood himself would have walked on. And quite extraordinarily, all these people have stayed with us through 3 days of wind and rain. And given that we thought that the meat market would have cut through all the evidence that we've been looking for, we think we've done pretty well over the last 3 days, don't we? Join Time Team on Patreon to access exclusive 3D models, masterclasses and behind-the-scenes insights.